Hi, I'm Roberto Martinez and you're watching Toffee TV.
Welcome to Toffee TV with me, Ped and Baz. We're here today with the lads from the Everton Supporters Trust site, and George are here to give us all the lowdown on the brand new Everton Supporters Trust, which launched at the weekend. Lads, thanks for coming in, sharing with us what's happening. What is happening inside? What is it all about? A lot of people have heard probably stuff about it and have an idea in their mind, but what is the actual aims of the Everton Supporters Trust?
The aims, I've got them here. Promote and support the interests of Evertonians within the Everton community, both worldwide and in the UK. Act as an effective and independent means of communication between Everton Football Club and its supporters. Work alongside Everton Football Club and Evertonians to investigate all possibilities regarding the stadium and infrastructure. Promote and raise funds for the Supporters Trust as well as locally based charities. Enshrine the rights of Evertonians as the true custodians of the club. And campaign and work alongside other groups such as the FSF and Supporters Direct, and the ultimate aims, which are for representatives to be on the board of directors, and then ultimately to own the football club, supporters own the football club.
So we should all have that done by about Thursday, do you think?
Yeah, maybe Friday.
You'll get married on Friday, so we might have to wait.
Saturday.
Trying to get it finished before.
I mean, you know, there is a lot of sort of trying to use the right word here, dismay with a lot of fans at the moment. How do you think this goes far to addressing some of that, but keeping it, I suppose, in a positive way?
Well, I think you've got to be pragmatic, and there are fans out there who are unhappy with things. I think the Supporters Trust is not a short term, not a Thursday. We're not going to get things done overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. This is a long term. Like I say, you've got to be pragmatic with the aims, certainly the ultimate ones. The supporter ownership, when you talk about Premier League clubs, and talk about our club, I think we're around 160 million we're valued at. So, you know, we're in no position, and we're not going to be in the next couple of years to buy the football club. But I think that's an ultimate aim and something to strive for. And like I say, it's a long-term fix, and the trust the trust isn't protesting or a protest group against individuals or the board. We are a protest group in the form of, we think that football clubs should be owned collectively, but as the fans, on the basis that Everton Football Club was founded on, which is the supporters run the club. It's one member, one vote. Everyone has a say, and we move in a democratically decided direction.
I think football's changed. We know that football's changed anyway, not just Everton. The whole concept of football's changed. I mean, when I got my first season ticket in 1959, my first heroes were Tommy Ring and Mickey Lill. You must want to be granddad, I'll tell you about them, But, football then, you had some connection with the club. There was a real connection with the club, I mean, I went in the boys' pen as the boys' pen.
Did you see Bill?
Story. Yeah, he was next to me, yeah. And, then you went in Gladys Street and you moved around. But there was a feeling about, being part of something. And I still do feel part of something because that's who I am. But, my grandson goes with me. And my daughter's 4, she's been going since she was 4. And that connection between the club and the spectators and the fans, and I don't want to use the word the ordinary fans because I don't think there's any such thing, but that gap's getting wider and wider, which is, that's modernism, that's natural. We want the best players playing here, we want the best, so you're going to have to pay for them. That's a lot of money. It's good to see, the ground improvements that the Sky money's brought. I don't know if you see, but on a Saturday sometimes on ITV4 they do the old Gerald Sinstad matches.
Oh, the big match.
The big match revisited, and you watch them, and the mud's up to their neck. And they got shorts up to the neck as well, and the grounds look a bit, dilapidated. So there's no doubt that the Sky money and the big money that's come into football has done good things. But it's made the gap bigger, I think, between the fans, the players, and certainly the club. And I think supporters trusts generally, but Everton Supporters Trust, we want to bring that gap back down. We want to have some real connection. There's nothing worse than sitting moaning and saying, Everton, sitting in the ground moaning, sitting in a pub after one. That leads to frustration. What we need is some communication between the fans and the club.
Sai, how important, because this has been floated a few times, having
a fan representative on the board, or someone who can be a go-between. How important is that to the trust? Because I think it'd be a good idea. Obviously, how you go about nominating that person, you know, that could run and run. But I think in terms of the communication side, I think that'd be a massive help.
Massively, and some of the stuff that's affected the club over the last 10 years, 15 years. I think if you, I mean, you can say like that Ken Wright's a blue, fair enough. But I think when you're invested in a business like Bill is, then you're acting on the best interest of the business. You know, there's always that's coming between your love for the club, and I think if there's someone there who's there purely from a fan perspective, would we have made the decision to go to to try and go to Kirby? Could we have been playing in King's Dock now? There's all those little factors, and
even things like the badge from a couple of years ago, isn't it?
Yeah.
How much money did they waste on making a badge that none of us wanted?
And I think that the thing with the fan representation as well, that's looking like it could be an achievable aim, because people in high places now, like Westminster for example, are talking about it. I don't know if you're into your politics, but the Labour manifesto for the 2015 election said that within 100 days of a Labour government, they wanted to see democratically elected from a supporters trust representative on the board, minimum 2. Now obviously Labour didn't get in, but Clive Efford put a motion forward a couple of months back. He was the shadow sports secretary for that to be introduced, so that's still being talked about. And
even now they're saying, I seen them last week saying the idea is they want them from the bottom up, not from the top down. But and I suppose it's the same for the club, isn't it? Because I know, see, a lot of people will be watching this and they'll listen to what you said at the top about fan ownership. That seems to a lot of people now like just mad thinking. But if you can achieve, a tiny bit of that, then you've done your job, haven't you? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, because fan ownership now in other countries, it's been there for years, Germany and places like that. To hear it just seems like a mad concept because of the billionaires. Because I mean, to raise the money to own it would be hard enough, but to get the money to keep it function would be just mad. But if you could get someone on the board, that would be the aim, wouldn't it? Because then people would feel like they've got an elected voice at least.
Definitely,
and it's got to be independent. See, that's the other point. That to get the fans, somebody from the fans on the board, it shouldn't be a board-owned fan. Because they're going to go with the policy and they're not going to argue. And I mean, it's good that you mentioned the badge, because we've got a logo, Everton Supporters Trust, which you can see on the website and you can see on the Everton Supporters Trust Facebook page. And what we did is we put 4 logos out about 2 months ago, left it on the website and said the fans can vote for the one they want. So that might sound like a basic story, but with the fiasco of the Everton badge, that just shows you how well the Everton Supporters Trust is being run as an open democratic organisation where people can get in and say something, and what they say is acted upon. They chose the logo, that's the one we're going with. Yeah,
I mean, you mentioned there about being voted on, and obviously that my mind springs instantly to the fans forum, which is another issue, because obviously at first it just felt like 12 people or whatever it was just plucked out of thin air, and then there was people who were voted on, but how were they voted into the position they were to become voted on? There's nothing transparent about the fans forum. The people who are on it, I've spoke to them, they feel like they're doing a good job, and they might be doing a good job, but there doesn't seem to be anything transparent about it. I've asked them to bring things up. I don't know if they've brought those things up. I don't think nobody will bring things up. Is this a way round that? Because that feels like from the outside, like it's just something that's going on without us actually knowing, and it's supposed to be someone that's representing us as fans.
I think the fans forum does have a function. I mean, I don't fully agree with the way it's run, and I have this, some of the same sort of concerns that you have. I know people who were on it previously. I know people who are on it now, and the massive blues, and no question over sort of where they sit on that sort of thing. But I mean, when you talk about being independent, they're not, because they're coming into a meeting. The agenda is set by the club, the club are taking ideas to them and they're acting on it. This is to run by the fans. If you want to choose the direction that the trust is going in, then you've got to be, get involved, and it's inclusive to everyone. The membership is open. It does cost to join, but the trust, just being a trust, does have overheads. Like, we are affiliated to Supporters Direct, and that costs each year. We have, basic things you'll know yourselves, the website, costs money, stuff like that. So that's, it's there just as and we're a non-profit, we're not an organisation, we're a non-profit trust. So, there are overheads, so we do need to cover that. But if you're a member, if you're paying, you've got your voice, you've got your say. The AGMs every year that we'll have, that's where you put your ideas forward, that's where they get moved, and that's where the direction of the trust, for the next 12 months is decided.
So on the membership, what are we talking then to become a member of the Everton Supporters Trust?
Well, it's £10 for adults.
£5 for pensioners, which is good for me.
Concessions, yeah. So it's 65s and above, like George, and it's 16 to 25 as well. Because one of the issues you have with some of the things that hopefully we'll be campaigning on is ticket prices and the fact that that age bracket that are just coming out of school, they're feeling the pinch a little bit harder than others, and the average attendance of 16 to 25-year-olds is going down. So what we're trying to do is keep our prices down to try and attract the next generation, get them involved in the trust, because it's good that you've got the old heads here to get give us a bit of experience over the line, but you do need the next bit of youthful push.
It's really costly. I have 3 season tickets, and I mean this year for the first time my season tickets are half price because I'm over 65. But it's that's so near enough 1,900 quid a year or more.
So is it? I mean, you talk about fan ownership and those kind of things. Is the ultimate? I suppose the ultimate aim in the short term just to get a dialogue going between you and the club. We are the trust, we are the fans in a way. We want to just open communication on these things. Yeah,
definitely working with the club. Hopefully, we have already approached them and contacted them before the launch just to explain who we are and what we are. And I'd say it was kind of positive feedback that we got.
Do you have within yourselves almost like a point that you need to get a certain amount of members before you feel like you can do that as well, though? Because obviously you're only just started, so. Is there a point where you said, right, once we hit a thing, then we feel we are justified in what we do move forward?
I don't think we've got any sort of number in our heads, to be honest.
We had a good launch on Saturday. Good numbers turned up, and just since the launch, the Facebook page and the website have been, lots of blitzers on it, and also a good article on Toffee Web and stuff, and people reacting to that. But I don't think we're saying this is a number limit, because I think it's like everything else. It's a new thing. Supporters Trust. It's new for Everton. Evertonians thinking that they're going to have a say in the club is a good, positive way forward. So I don't think we're going to say a number. We're saying that immediately we've set it up, which we have now. We've launched it. It's set up. We're going to start dialogue immediately with the club.
I think one of the things as well is one you alluded to before. There's a lot of groups and organisations out there floating around now. So I think a lot of fans will probably be like, not another group. Yeah. And for us, the challenge is trying to stay relevant whilst all that's happening, and it's the work that we do in between. So, we're meeting for the first time after the launch on Wednesday, and we're going to talk about some of the campaigns that we want to get involved in. Basic stuff like food banks and stuff like that, based in the community around Walton. But it's not when you talk about the Everton community, people already automatically think about the local community, but when I think of Everton community, I think of worldwide. It's not just around Walton anymore. It's all over. Yeah. So we've got challenges, which is and it's not going to be an overnight thing. We've got to build slowly and steadily, and I'd love us to have like United Supporters Trust 250,000 members, tomorrow. But I think people are cautious, and rightly so, and it's what we do in between that get people on side and hopefully promote the right image.
Is that the biggest challenge? Because there is obviously, we all use social media and things like that, and there is groups here, there. I think the biggest problem for me looking at it is that there is quite a lot of disharmony amongst Evertonians in terms of I think we all kind of see the same thing. We're not happy that the fact that the club doesn't appear to be moving forward, certainly not at a pace quick enough for us. So that's why these kind of groups pop up. And I suppose your biggest challenge will be to convince not the people who are campaigning, or not the people who aren't interested, but everyone in the middle of, we're just something that, we're not different, but what we're trying to do is get everyone together, so that we all come together to own or be a part of this club, like Ped said before, to have that communication between the club, to be heard. And I think that'll be your biggest challenge in getting people who are, like you said before, are going to go, not another Everton group, I just want to go to the match. It's a bit more than that, isn't it?
Well, it's not just another Everton group. I mean, and I'm not knocking the other Everton groups. Their Facebook pages, Toffee webs, that are just places for you to say, to moan normally, to have a go, which is great. I think that's really important. But the Supporters Trust is a more definite form. All the other groups, can link into us, and but there's a link with the Supporters Trust to Supporters Direct, but also to all the other Supporters Trusts around the country, and ultimately to the Premier League.
I think that's important, though. It's not just, we can sit here and talk about Blue Union and we can sit about Ken Right Out and all these groups that, they all, from the outside looking in, to a lot of people, they feel like they're negative. That's not true. We've seen it, we've done it, we've all been there. They're not negative, and I think it's important that some people think that we'll see the difference, that this is for positive things, that it is for helping out ticket prices, which affects every single fan, whether you like it or not. Whether you, I've heard people say, I don't want to pay £20 for an away ticket because it just means anyone can go then. It's like, that's not, you can't say things like that. It's got to be. That's a positive thing, like you just said, community outreach programs that help everyone. That's a positive thing, working with like Everton community or whatever. They're all things that affect every single one of us. There's nothing negative in that at all. I think that people got to realise that.
Coming back to Badger's point, I mean, I go on Twitter quite regularly, as you know, and I've seen on there I've seen responses to the trust from people who are one side and people from the other side, and they're both sort of, I've seen negative, but I've seen mostly positive, and that gives me a bit of hope for the trust, because I've seen people who are sort of been anti to the organisations and groups out there who've said it's actually a really good idea, and what trusts do are good, and I think it'll be positive for fans. I really do. I hope so. And that's the reason why we're in the game.
I think once you get that message across and people can come and see it, I think it will grow, because that's what it needs. Our club, when everyone's united, is fantastic, isn't it? And the fan base, they're so passionate and everything else. It's great. We know we don't have to sell it. We know what our fans are like, and we need something that we can all get behind. And
people need to know that it can work. There's no good putting a lot of effort in if you think it's just a pie in the sky. That's never going to happen. And it's obvious even within the Premier League that Tottenham is always the Spurs Supporters Trust is always quoted as a good one, and you've only got to look at what's happening in Germany. I mean, I work in Germany a lot. I go to Cologne a lot. Cologne opened a training ground right next to their stadium in 1952. Right next to it, and it's open. It's open. You can go and have a cup of coffee and watch the players.
I think that's really important, though, isn't it? Because as you just said, going back to what we were talking about before about the badge, all that would have needed was a little bit of dialect between the fans and the club, and all those problems would have been eliminated. It shouldn't have needed 22,000 people to sign a petition and create this embarrassment for the club. People going on phone-ins, national phone-ins on Radio 5, these kind of things. It created it almost shamed the club into having to change the badge back. Whereas a little bit of dialogue between them and us, well, this has solved all the problems.
I think the biggest thing for Everton is that there isn't any, or there doesn't appear to be any transparency. We're not sure what's going on with transfers. We're not sure what's going on with the stadium. We're not sure what's going on with, like you say, the 20,
But the saddest thing about that, there's something sad about that, because I totally agree. But the saddest thing is, there's great stories at Everton. There is great stories at Everton, and sometimes we don't know how to say them.
Yeah.
And we don't know how to say the pozzos. I write on Toffee when I write pozzo waves. Normally people think I'm a crackpot, but I just think let's get the pozzo waves going, because there's good positive stories.
There is, and I fully understand.
Having said that, you don't say everything's wonderful if it's not. But we've got to be careful that there's not this thing of let's just moan. You've got to be positive, and you've got to be. But the feel is, the Supporters Trust have got to have a feeling, and I think it has been proved, that you can actually do something about it.
I think
it might take a while, as Simon says, but you can. Through the Supporters Trust, you can do something about the issues that you raise.
I think as well, and I think that the club are suspicious. Whether it's good or bad.
Of course.
But I think what we're trying to do and what we're trying to say is, the employees of the club, they're employees, and some of them aren't, Everton fans, no disrespect, and they might be there for the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, whatever. In 30, 40, 50 years time, fingers crossed, touch wood, we'll still be there, we'll still be supporting it. And football fans have got a lot of really good positive ideas, and stuff like this, Toffee TV, get into them, tap into that resource, and that's what we're doing.
I think the club, I will tell you now, I think the club are opening up a little bit. I think there's always been a little bit of paranoia.
I agree, yeah.
There's been paranoia about a lot, because I think they have had the fingers burnt with certain people. I think they really have. I think there's a little bit more communication happening now. I think I can say that for one. There's communication happening. There is ideas happening that the club don't always give the person who come up with the idea the credit, but there are ideas that are, and I think there needs to be a little bit
the programs.
I think there needs to be a little bit more of that. And as you just said, we've got in our fan base everything this club needs to go forward, and it's about tapping into it. We've got thank you for mentioning it. But there are things like this, and there's people doing things with art and music, and I've got really good ideas. And if the club can tap into that, and they can tap into it through the Supporters Trust, then it benefits everybody.
I think we move closer without going on about communication officers and everything else. There was a kind of unite. It did kind of come closer a couple of years ago, and then that kind of edged away again, but you're right, it is starting to...
Alan Myers, he was great for it.
I didn't want to name him, but...
And to be honest, he came around the same time as Martinez did, and it was that crest, wasn't it? And
but that showed you how it can be.
Yeah, and everyone was on riding that question.
And off the badge, they put the vote out there, they sort of made it transparent. I don't know how transparent it was, but they got hundreds and thousands of people to go and come down to the club online. I remember Alan Myers even going to, I remember the story of someone saying, my dad doesn't know how to use the internet and he doesn't know what badge to vote for. And Alan Myers went round to his house, and as cynical as I am, it's brilliant PR. It is wonderful PR. You take a camera with you and you pop it on Everton TV and Sky News, and it works. It's brilliant. And there was that feel-good factor a couple of years ago, and that has sort of drifted away. I don't know whether the people at the club felt like Alan got too close to us in the fan base. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but it's sort of that there has been a little bit of a standoff since then, and the club just need to get it back, because it was great. It was absolutely brilliant.
I mean, the point is that anybody who owns anything, certainly in any form of entertainment, must never be frightened of the very people that they're working with. No football club should be frightened to have a rapport open with the fans. That's the basics. And from there, the Everton Supporters Trust, like other supporters trusts, the ultimate aim is to have that rapport, openness, so that fans who go feel that they've got some connection with the board, with the club, and I think so that they can make changes. The worst thing is to constantly moan every week, isn't it? Oh, I'm fed up with the price, the price. And then you think, but there's nothing I can do about it. I think that's incredibly frustrating, isn't it, in life? So that's what the Supporters Trust and Everton Supporters Trust ultimately are looking to do, to make that connection between the people who are watching Everton anywhere in the world and the board.
I mean, I think when you consider that the football fan, like Evertonians are the club's biggest sponsors in terms of how much money that they pump into the club. Even now, the TV money eclipses everything else, but I think for football fans, for some it'll just be a case of going out with your mates for the day, going to watch a football match and going home. That's fine. But I think at the end of the, everyone wants to see your club being successful.
Yeah.
And okay, there's only a few teams that win trophies and that each year, but I think if you have that sort of that grip on the club, that that if you have an opinion, it could take the club into a new direction. And I think that's a fantastic thing for fans to have.
Definitely, and as we said before, it could be one thing or it could be 10 things. Every fan will need the assistance, or may not have had the assistance for what as we mentioned before, ticket prices.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, isn't it? Where your ticket prices are, where they're going to be going, getting them down, making it affordable. That's number one aim, especially with all the TV money knocking around. We're seeing how much money they're getting, yet the ticket prices continue to go up. There needs to be someone sort of fighting that, as there has been for the last 3 or 4 years, and that affects everyone. So there'll be plenty of other little things that affect every single fan. And I think what would be good about a supporters trust, there might be things that the club do now that they go, we deal with that, but it would be great if it was like, well, no, actually, we'll give that to the supporters trust to deal with.
It's funny you should mention when we had the launch on Saturday, we had the chair from Spirit of Shankly, Jay McKenna, down, and he gave a bit of experience on where Spirit of Shankly have come from and what they're doing, and he said, they've had ups and downs with the club, and I think they're on a little bit of an up at the moment, and he said it's to a point now where the club are asking them to do stuff, like as you said, like they've asked one of the guys to deal with the visa applications for one of the away trips.
Wow, that's great.
Even things like Europe, when you're going to Europe, and you could have, I think you've mentioned it before with the Football Supporters Federation, a place where fans can go and know that there'll be information for them for European games. When we get.
Well, I took that idea to Everton myself last year, and if it wasn't just me as an individual taking that idea, basically what it was as I'm on the National Council of the FSF, one of the big things that the FSF do for England fans is an away fan embassy. So they'll go to. I'll use Lille as an example. They would go to somewhere like the Square, and they would have a gazebo, a place for everyone to go. You'd hand out information leaflets. This is where your nearest metro station is. Blah blah blah. And I said I took that to Everton, and I said, this is a fantastic idea. We should pilot this and see how it goes. And it didn't happen. I'm not saying that what happened at Lille could have been avoided. I don't know. It could have still happened, but it's given everyone the chance to try and make things better. And, take Lille aside. Next season when we get into Europe next season in the Champions League, I'd love to see us do that. Yeah, because I think that's a fantastic idea.
That's it, and that's something that a basic thing that could be easily work. They're the kind of things that I think the club should be handing over to
I think
others.
It needs that. The thing about football clubs, they thrive on the community. They thrive on people around. It's built for us. It was built for us. No one should ever forget that. So, as a supporter, you should never ever feel totally disconnected with your football club. And at times, obviously I can't speak for all Evertonians, but me as an Evertonian, speaking from my own point of view, at times you do feel as though you're like, it's not my club anymore. I don't know, I've got no say and things like that. I think if you'd had that couple of representatives in there, like Ped said, and the stuff you just come up with there, those away trips and things like that, it feels as though then you would have a place to go and to say, look, what about this? What about that? Some people might knock that back. They might hit back and go, we can't do that because. But at least it would be heard rather than someone just going, good idea, that, and putting it in the drawer and closing it. At least you heard.
I don't think people realise how great Everton is. And I don't think some Evertonians realise how great Everton is. And I'm not talking about trophies, the fourth most successful club in the history of football in Britain. But the great things that Everton do with disabled people, and I know there's still work to be done, and that's the point of the Supporters Trust, the way they treat their ex-players, they're known throughout the world. I mean, I know lots, Ronnie was at the launch.
But something like that's a really good example, because something like that's done
by the fans.
But that's an outside thing. That's not. That's something that it works with conjunction with the club.
Well,
something to be proud of.
Yeah, I heard a story about the Former Players Foundation. Yeah. It was so good that Barcelona.
Yeah, it's the model. It's the model. But
but it's the world model, by the way.
But that's
Everybody in
also
the
the
world
same with
wants to
Everton, the
copy.
community as well. Everton community is not people inside the club; it's people outside the club using what the club have, and they work together. So that should be that should almost be the template for this as well, perfectly. And also
Spurs and West Ham and Chelsea could use the Everton former players.
well, yeah, for Jimmy Greaves, But that's the fun, and it also creates goodwill. You know, if you have it with Everton community, you have it with the ex-players, so why not have it with the fans as well?
Well, that's the aim, and you know, okay, at the moment on the field with sleeping giants, I fully believe that, you know, that'll be turned around. Our time will come again. But yeah, former players were up there, Everton and the community were up there, and this is what I want to see. I mean, we've already been set sort of targets in terms of Liverpool have got something like 60,000 members in the Supporters Trust. United have got 250,000. It's a lot. It'll be a very long road for, you know, taking over clubs that supporters that have been doing that for years. But I want to see us.
It has to start somewhere, doesn't it?
Well, you can see the perfect example, just sticking to the Europe theme, because hopefully we join them. And this is nice, because in the pub where I go, the Dark House, with Simon and Furious, San Pauli, what they've achieved. That's a fantastic example of what you can do. You know, I won't go into it now, but people can look up on the internet. They can just put the Supporters Trust. They bought the club. They got their own shop that they sell, and the profits come. And you see their matches, because they're on BT now. The Skull and Crossbones, you know, the Rebels.
Don't put down the Dark Horse and European connection, because the San Miguel's excellent in there. So so tell people how they can get involved and how did they join the Everton Supporters Trust.
Well, we're having technical issues with the website, getting the membership on sorted. Hopefully we'll have that this week, but in the meantime you can email myself, simon.magner@est1878.co.uk. You can email the trust itself, which is info@est1878.co.uk, or our secretary andy.craven@est1878.co.uk. You can get in touch with us on Twitter, EST_1878, on Facebook.
Go to the website. And the Twitter and the Facebook and the email, they're all on the first page.
That's better.
And you go to it, and if you no, sorry mate, but that's easy. And then what I've done for the last 2 weeks is I keep putting Everton Supporters Trust into my search engine, so then now the minute I type in Everton Supporters
So what's the website address?
EST1878.co.uk.
There you go.
It's got Twitter, it's got everything on.
There you go. There you go. That's all you need
Everything.
to know. Tell us what you
Picture
think.
of Simon on there.
Oh, love that.
And we still expect you to come back.
Tell us what you think in the comments about the Everton Supporters Trust. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you want to get involved? Tell us all that.
We need you, all of you.
There you go. Join us on Twitter as well. Tell us well on Twitter. It is @ToffeeTV1. Don't forget to subscribe.
You're joining, aren't you?
Oh, we're in. Yeah, we're in. Yeah.
Your club needs you.
As long as it's free. We'll be back soon on Toffee TV.